Hey everyone, thanks so much for being here. We're super excited to have you back on the channel, beloved and happy. Today, we're going to chat about some things men do that might make women lose interest. We know that most men think red flags are just the obvious stuff, like being rude, lying, or cheating. But what really makes a woman lose interest are the subtle behaviors men might not even realize they're showing. If you've ever felt like a woman just lost interest out of nowhere, it might have been for a reason we're about to talk about. Today, we're going to talk about some subtle behaviors that men might not even realize they're doing. We want to emphasize that these are not about being a bad guy, but rather about things that might make a woman question whether or not you are confident, self-aware, or actually ready for a relationship. Let's dive in and see what we can learn together. The first one here is overselling yourself. When you're overly enthusiastic in dating, it can unfortunately lead to a decrease in attraction. It's surprising how many men do this without even realizing it. They might start acting like they're interviewing for a job, going on and on about their achievements, focusing on how well they treat women, or constantly highlighting how they're not like the other guys. Even seemingly small statements like, "I've always been a gentleman," or "I would never treat a woman that way," might not work in your favor. Instead of making you look like a great catch, they make you seem insecure, like you're trying to convince someone of your worth, or trying to convince them of something that just isn't true. The truth is, confidence isn't about telling people how great you are. It's about carrying yourself in a way that naturally makes others see it for themselves, without you having to say a word. The most attractive men don't have to sell themselves because their actions, presence, and energy already do the work for them. They listen more than they talk. They're genuinely curious about people and don't feel the need to prove their worth because they already know it. There's no need to prove anything. When you're confident and at ease with who you are, you don't have to spotlight your best qualities. It's like your natural charisma just shines through, making you stand out without any effort. From a woman's perspective, she's naturally drawn to men who exude a quiet confidence, not those who try to market themselves like a product. If you're always trying to prove that you're a good guy or that you stand out from other men, it might suggest that you're seeking external validation rather than simply being yourself. The best thing you can do is to focus on connecting with others rather than trying to impress them. Instead of trying to craft the perfect image, focus on being present, engaging in meaningful conversation with her, and allowing your character to just speak for itself. When you're not trying so hard to impress, you give women the chance to really see who you are and connect with you on a deeper level. Second, it's important to understand how men handle setbacks. How a man reacts when things don't go as planned says a lot about him, more than how he acts when everything is going smoothly. Some men seem calm and easygoing when they're in control, but when they face rejection, competition, or unexpected challenges, their whole demeanor changes. They might get a little defensive, shut down, or lash out. Or, they might even overcompensate with arrogance. It's like they're trying to hide how uncomfortable they are, and it's not very flattering. This emotional unpredictability can be a bit disconcerting, and women tend to pick up on it. They'll notice when a man gets upset easily or gets down on himself when faced with a little difficulty. This can make them worry about how he'll handle bigger challenges in life and in relationships down the road. True strength isn't about avoiding failure or frustration. It's about managing those moments with composure and adaptability. A man who can take setbacks in stride, who doesn't react impulsively or emotionally, is so much more attractive because he comes across as secure, level-headed, and capable of handling real-life challenges. A man who can stay cool, calm, and collected is so incredibly attractive, and women absolutely notice that. My next one: stay cool, calm, and collected is so incredibly attractive and women absolutely notice that. My next point might come as a surprise to you, but it's important to be honest about how we express ourselves. Men who avoid taking a stance, whether it's about where they're going to eat, what they're going to do, or even deeper topics, can sometimes come across as passive and unengaging. Saying, "I don't care, whatever you want," all the time might seem like you're being easygoing, but it can actually make you look indecisive and uninterested. Women don't want to be the ones making all the decisions. They want a man who can express opinions and lead when necessary, even something as simple as saying, "Let's try that new sushi spot," instead of, "I don't know, what do you think," can make a difference. It shows that you're interested in her opinion and that you're willing to take suggestions. And she should be doing the same. It's important to remember that making all the decisions all the time can be exhausting, and it's healthy for both partners to contribute equally. We know some men feel the need to act detached because they think it makes them seem more attractive. But, in reality, it just makes them seem cold or distant. They never express excitement, avoid deep conversations, and refuse to show any sort of vulnerability. Instead of making you feel intrigued, it makes you feel like they're not available emotionally, which can be a deal-breaker for many great women. Women don't expect a man to open up all that much on a first date, so there's no need to push it. But they do notice when someone is so closed off that it's almost impossible to connect. Their curiosity is piqued by someone who can make decisions, has opinions, and stands by them, even if they're different from hers. They're drawn to someone who actually cares about what they're doing. We really want you to know that we're not neutral about the importance of a good skincare routine. We know that a lot of men aren't taking care of their skin, and we're here to tell you that it only takes a few minutes each day. All you need is a face wash and a moisturizer. We understand that it might feel like a lot of work, but prevention is key. Your future self will thank you for taking care of your skin. Alright, let's talk about performance self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is a beautiful thing, but it's only truly attractive when it's backed by action. Some men acknowledge their flaws, which is a great start. But, let's be real, sometimes it feels like they're just putting on a show instead of truly working on themselves. Saying things like, "I know I overthink everything," or "I talk too much," might make a guy seem introspective, but if there's no real effort to change, it just becomes an excuse that it's obvious when self-awareness is being used as a shield or a performance, rather than a tool for growth. It's almost like they expect to be given credit just for simply recognizing the issue. We totally get it, recognizing an issue is a great first step. It's the first step on the journey to growth and evolution, right? But if you're always pointing out these things, it might feel like you're just putting on an act or trying to make people think you're working on yourself when you're not actually making any changes. If you're someone who always analyzes situations and then says, "I can't help it, that's just how I am," it might be a sign that you need to keep working on yourself. It's like they're pointing out the problem, but then expecting others to just accept it, and, women do this too. But true self-awareness isn't about making excuses for your bad habits. It's about being real and working to change. Women respect men who can own their weaknesses. But they also really like guys who are actively working on improving. A man who recognizes his shortcomings and actively works to improve is going to show emotional intelligence, maturity, and the ability to evolve, which is far more appealing than just reflecting on his shortcomings. Hey, let's talk about something that's really important, especially when we're talking about relationships. It's great to talk about your dreams, but it's even better to make them happen. Women love it when a guy talks about his ambitions, like starting a business or getting in shape, but actually take steps to make those dreams a reality. It's great to talk about your goals, but it's even better to take action. But it's a whole other thing to be in planning mode, talking about what you want to do without ever actually doing it. Over time, this can make a man seem like all talk, no action, which can be a bit disconcerting for some women. It might make them worry that he's not very disciplined or reliable. It's important to consider whether he'll be able to keep the promises he makes to you. On the other hand, a man who's working quietly and consistently towards his goals, even in small ways, is much more attractive than one who talks about success without putting in the effort. Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to start going to the gym soon, just go." He might also say, "Yeah, I really want a serious relationship, but the timing just hasn't been right." But then, he might keep dating casually and not really trying to commit. Or, he might say, "I'm the kind of guy who always puts his woman first, but act in a way that's inconsistent, unreliable, or self-centered." He might also say, "I'm working on myself so that I can be the best partner possible, but there's no real growth, just empty talk about self-improvement like we mentioned in our last point. These kinds of statements sound good in theory, but when there's no action behind them, women are going to quickly realize that they're just words. We can say a lot of things, but when there's no action, women are going to quickly realize that they're just words. That we can say a lot of things, but what's really impressive is when a guy can back up what he's saying with actual action. Action speaks so much louder than words, and that absolutely applies in this scenario. A man who actually values commitment, effort, and self-improvement doesn't need to keep announcing it or telling people about it. He simply proves it through his consistency, his follow-through, and his actions. Ambition without action just feels empty, and a guy who's always talking about his future without actually taking steps towards it might seem a bit unreliable or even a little delusional. Great women want a man they can trust to follow through with things, not someone who's always stuck in potential but never delivers. It's a bit delusional, isn't it? Hey, let's talk about someone who tends to complain a lot. It's important to be aware that constant negativity can be a sign of a deeper mindset issue. We all face challenges in life, but the way we talk about them can reveal a lot about our outlook. If a man often complains about work, relationships, or how unfair the world is without ever taking responsibility or trying to improve his situation, it might be a sign of a lack of resilience and emotional maturity. Women tend to pick up on this quickly, and instead of coming across as someone who's just venting, it can make a guy seem stuck in a cycle of self-pity. We often see this in comment sections, especially in our own, just saying. Just a friendly reminder to maybe pause and think before hitting send on your next comment. Being in a constant state of negativity can really drain the energy of those around you. If a man always sees himself as a victim, saying things like, "People always screw me over," or "I never get what I deserve," it's not just frustrating to be around, it's uncomfortable. This kind of dynamic can also create a feeling where others feel like they have to constantly lift him up. Nobody wants to feel like they're always playing the role of a therapist or an emotional crutch. That's not a pleasant experience, but that doesn't mean men should be fake positive all the time. Struggles are a natural part of life, and talking about them is normal and can actually really help. The difference is in the approach. Are you looking for solutions or just dwelling on what's wrong? Women are attracted to men who have a mindset of growth and problem solving, rather than one of helplessness. It's not about pretending everything is fine, but showing that when things go wrong, you have the ability to handle them instead of letting them completely define you or dwelling on them. Hey, guys, let's talk about something that can sometimes be a bit tricky. Have you ever noticed how women tend to pick up on those little inconsistencies in a guy's online behavior? It's like they can sense when he's not quite being his true online self. And one of the things we want to chat about today is when a guy follows and interacts with a bunch of those thirst trap accounts, the ones that are super suggestive or even a bit provocative. And, in a similar way, if a woman was posting that type of content, it might raise some red flags for you. While some might dismiss this as just social media behavior, it can actually reveal a lot about your mindset and priorities. For one, it might indicate a lack of discipline. A man who constantly consumes such content is essentially telling us that he is easily distracted by surface-level temptation. It might make you wonder if he's got a lot of self-control and can focus on what's really important. Women are naturally drawn to men who have direction and discipline in their lives, whether that's through their career, fitness, or relationships. If a guy can't resist engaging with every overly sexualized post on his feed, it might make you question his ability to be intentional in other areas, including his commitment to a woman. And here's where we're seeing some inconsistency. If a man says he wants a deep, meaningful relationship, but his social media is full of half-naked influencers, it can send the message that he doesn't really value those deeper qualities. It makes women wonder if he's being genuine or just saying it to sound good. It's natural to wonder if he's genuinely attracted to the type of woman he's pursuing in real life or if he might be with someone else in his mind. It's hard to say for sure, but it could be a low-key need for validation. Constantly liking and following thirst trap content can make it seem like a guy is always craving attention from women, even if it's just online. And these women might not even know he exists. But let's not get sidetracked. A confident man doesn't need to seek out digital breadcrumbs of female attention. He's secure and doesn't need social media interactions to make himself feel good. We've seen how this can be a bit of a problem, especially in relationships, where it might feel a bit disrespectful to keep engaging with these kinds of posts. Now, we're not saying women expect you to be oblivious to other attractive people, but they do notice when a man's social media activity might suggest that he's still seeking external validation. Hey, we just wanted to say that this isn't about insecurity, but more about respect, especially in relationships. I truly believe that men who have fulfilling dating lives and confidence in themselves don't need to chase the illusion of intimacy through social media or OnlyFans. They're too busy living real life, building relationships, and connecting with women in meaningful ways. Guys who move with intention, who aren't easily distracted, and who don't need digital validation to feel good about themselves are way more attractive than those who are always double-tapping on bikini selfies. And, we know a lot of you would think the same thing about women who are posting that type of content. So, just something to think about if you're saying you want one thing, but your actions are kind of saying that you want something else. Now, we want to emphasize that these red flags don't make you a bad guy. But, they might make a woman question if you're someone she can respect, rely on, or build something special with. The good news is that all of these things can be fixed. Guys who recognize these overlooked red flags, make the necessary changes, and stand out from the crowd will instantly stand out from the rest. That's all for now. If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, we'd love to see a thumbs up and a subscription to our channel so you can stay updated on new releases. We'd also love to connect with you over on YouTube. Feel free to leave a comment below with any other red flags you might have. We're always looking to have a conversation and help each other out. And if there are any red flags for women out there, we'd be happy to hear them. Let's keep it positive and productive, just like we did in this video. We're not trying to point fingers or make anyone feel bad, but we believe that sometimes, highlighting these things that you might not have thought of before or how they come across to the other person can be really helpful. We would absolutely love to know what you think, so please share your thoughts with us below. We really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you again soon.